According to Arter, Library of Ohara, lost in translation, Gunko is wearing a Gakuran, a traditional Japanese school uniform. In some cases, particularly anime culture, Gakuran have been associated with delinquents, as well as wearing short skirts. The Oda is obviously exaggerating here. Then he continues, that was pretty clear. But obviously, it's not a cultural thing to wear no pants in Japan. Lol. Anime often associated with Gakuran with short skirts and delinquents like Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But Oda basically exaggerated this a lot. Even Japanese fans are finding the design whack. So whether or not that actually is the case, I'm not too sure. I'm not going in Japanese Twitter and trying to figure out if folks like her design or not. But there are folks that do like her design, though you could argue for not the most wholesome reasons. And on that note, Arter says this: the kanji in Gunko usually means child, but it could also mean young girl, like a female teenager or young adult. For fuck's sake! But while it's likely that in this case, the name could also be taken as a child born in the military. Also pretty clear in English, but she speaks very arrogantly. So for all the Gunko fanboys and fangirls, mainly fanboys out there that are fans of Gunko off the gate for unwholesome reasons, I would say for the time being, slow your roll, on your toes, because you don't know when in the next SBS, Oda reveals that she's 10 years old. Holy Knights with the Z. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have Holy Night activity in the latest chapter of One Piece. And this, I think, is a huge deal because you have to remember, these are the people that Monkey D. Dragon himself, arguably one of the strongest people on the planet, who is right now the face of the Revolutionary Army, the man that is going to make huge strides in changing the world as we know it. He himself said, when the Holy Knights mobilize, that is when our real battle begins. And we're seeing Holy Knight activity on Elbaf like we've never seen before outside of the God Valley flashback. And we have our first Holy Knight in the Common Era introduced, Gunko. And there is a lot about Gunko that we need to talk about for sure, but also the fact that Stabs and Gunko pulled up to Elbaf to try and recruit Loki. It's only because of the shenanigans of Road, in a low-key, every pun intended, in a low-key way, he was able to suppress intel about Loki being distributed to the Holy Knights because his crow kept on gathering all the humans, and he put all these humans in this little makeshift Lego Mania world. But the Holy Knights still want a piece of that Loki. And now we're getting a better sense as to why Loki's bounty is special, because it's a good chance that the Holy Knights, the world government, put that special bounty on Loki because they were considering Loki to be an asset for the future if he was willing to be said asset. And it just so happens that they make their move now because very likely Figureland Garling has ascended to the position of 5 Elder. The Holy Knights are, I can't say mobilizing in full mass right now, no, but they are making some plays here. And the fact that they are getting Loki in of itself could mean several things here. It could mean that, one, the Holy Knights themselves are undermanned. That is a very interesting proposition because let's say, for example, in chapter 1083, we see around 9 or 10 Holy Knights. And at the beginning of the 1096 flashback chapter for God Valley, we do see that same number of people that are standing in front of the regular Celestial Dragon holding up a sword near the treasure chest. But let's say right now they only have 7 Holy Knights, or they have only 8 Holy Knights. So there's a Holy Knight position that needs to be filled, and Loki could be that guy that they're looking for. Or let's say they want to increase the number of Holy Knights. So let's say they have 10 or they have 11 now, and let's say they want to balloon to 15 and some of that sort because they simply want more manpower for major activity that they're planning to do in the near future, considering how their supply lines are being targeted by the Rev. There were massive blunders made on their part during Agate Island, and now the world is aware of a global calamity with the sea levels rising. But at the same time, they have gained assets like York. So in the future, is York also going to be herself a Holy Knight under the direct supervision of Garling and potentially Stabs, Shanks' twin bro. And in her case, more of a support Holy Knight, or let's say a non-front line Holy Knight, where she can make something, some sort of robot, machine, whatever, and whatever she creates could be a devastating force on the battlefield. Therefore, in that roundabout way, she is worthy of being a Holy Knight. Because right now, the theory is about, let's say, taking Loki for his ability and being able to siphon that off somehow, some way. That seems to be right now unlikely. Why have him join the God's Knights where they can simply steal his power and then give it to a loyal member of the Celestial Dragons right now? So those details will be sorted out in the future for sure. But the fact that the Holy Knights are even considering someone like Loki, the man that acquired quote unquote every warrior in Elbaf, of course, at that point in time, minus Dory, minus Brogy, the fact that they are looking for Loki as a member of the Holy Knights could be indicative of the power of that organization. Every Holy Knight, in some way, shape, or form, whether let's say be through their abilities, their race traits, their insane physique, their technology, and their insight, whatever it's going to be, somehow, some way, every Holy Knight is comparable to Loki. So imagine a squadron of 10 people or 9 people that are in some regards comparable to Loki. That is a haunting idea. That is terrifying. And all the more reason why Dragon's words have so much weight. When 10 Lokis mobilize, woo! That's, my goodness, it's a scary thought. Let's just say on average to play it safe, because you're gonna have folks that are gonna be well under, weaker than Loki, but there could be 1 or 2 Holy Knights that are even stronger than Loki. This then brings in Gunko. We saw a chapter 2 ago, was able to take out, suppress a giant quite easily. And then on top of that, we see her also subdue this giant Fenrir Black Wolf. And it seems like her clothes are the main attack vector. Shouts to Medusa from Soul Eater, absolutely. They are the main attack vector of her powers. And so on some Kill la Kill life fiber activity, the more of her clothes she uses, the stronger she becomes, because we see more of these stringy arrow style vectors that she can use to apparently lift up Titan-sized hounds and choke them out in midair, hang them with relative ease. So emphasizing real quick on the goon part of Gunko, the more clothes she uses, that means that, wait, remember to walk on thin ice. Remember to walk on thin ice. All I'm gonna say, if folks have a problem with her fit now, this may only get worse as time goes on. Just like being a Holy Knight in of itself, she has power. There's a good chance here that she was recruited in the past by, let's say, Stabs himself to be a member of the Holy Knights, and that's why Gunko is with Stabs right now. And then some folks may say, wait, hold on now. Why is it, let's say, that someone like Gunko was recruited to be a Holy Knight, assumingly, but what happened to Doflamingo? Why didn't Doflamingo, who definitely would have won that Celestial Dragon power back, why wasn't he recruited as a Holy Knight? And my guess here is because the Don Quixote family were got excommunicated by the Celestial Dragons after Homing willingly took his family down to the lower world, the Blue Sea. Homing at some point wanted to come back. They hung up on him to let him and his family die. Any member of the Don Quixote family that left would never have the chance to be a Celestial Dragon ever again. That wouldn't apply to new people like Gunko, like Loki if wanted to join, like maybe York in the future. It wouldn't apply to them, particularly if they can showcase a lot of loyalty to the elders and the Celestial Dragons. Now, there is a chance here, a chance that Gunko is actually inheriting the position, the title of Holy Knight from somebody else. Though this, I think, is unlikely because we see that Gunko's name is just Holy Knight Gunko. There is no saint title to her name. So let's say in the future, if York becomes a Celestial Dragon / Holy Knight, then there's a good chance here that she will not have the Saint title. So let's say here in the pecking order of the Holy Land, it could be Emu on top, then the 5 elders after Emu, then the Holy Knights, but only if they are saints in their title. Yeah, because remember, Figureland Garling, when he takes out Mio's guard, has the title of Saint. And he is still someone that is revered by many of the Celestial Dragons. But then you have, let's say, regular Celestial Dragons, and then you have Holy Knights that are not saints. It could be something of that sort, where Gunko may not have the authority to execute a celestial dragon, even if they do things against the Holy Land, but Figureland Darling and probably Stabs, they would have that authority because they are saints. Their family has probably been on the Holy Land and lived there for a very long time, potentially since the very beginning of the creation of the world government, and therefore they have the title of sainthood. So that is one option there. Another road is also the idea that she does have the same authority, the same title, and so on, but the saint isn't there for the time being for let's say what reason. Let's say, for example, she is a descendant of the girl that we see in chapter 1096, a member of the Menmayer family. They have similar fits, you could argue, military style fits. And the girl that wanted to get the trophy for the Menmayer family is a holy knight. So this woman in chapter 1096 could maybe be Gunko's mother, grandmother, whatever. And that would show that in some cases, holy knights can actually attain this position, this role, through family lineage. But the idea is in the future, we will see some signs, potentially, of the Menmayer family that Oda first introduced chapter 1096. And then the final one I want to tackle too, outside of her, let's say, her powers, which right now seem relatively simple, but they're strong. Again, these light fiber threads are very powerful stuff. Suppress the giant easily, and then this wolf is getting choked out easily. And in fact, if she is, let's say, on the caliber of Loki in terms of power, then she might even be awakened. And even though we're not seeing it right now, we could see it in the future where she has Medusa vectors everywhere, and then she's able to even turn the surrounding environment, like trees and buildings and so on, into her string rope vector ability. But vector arrows. This arrow that we see in the chapter, obviously, it harkens back in my mind to Emu. You have to wonder if there's a correlation here between the arrow that we see her use for her clothing ability and then the arrow that we see with Emu when that pierced Sabo, when that pierced King Cobra. And my guess is that there is, because it's too distinct of a feature. The arrow itself could be a representation of Emu's abilities, where let's say a holy knight has to meet Emu for whatever reason, or let's say some of them do because they could have history lineage on the Holy Land. Again, let's say if she is a member of the Menmayer family, in theory, right? And then she has modeled her ability after Emu's tail, and let's say a similar vein to Law emulating Rocinante's silence ability with his re-room. She's paying homage to the god above gods, the god that stands above even the 5 elders, by having her power mimic Emu in some way. Or it could be the case here, we go even further, it could be the case here where she has attained her powers in some unique way through Emu, because we know, we saw with the elders, the 5 elders have gained their powers in some way via Emu, to where when Emu wanted to punish Jay Garcia Saturn, what it do? It removed Jay's powers from Emu. Emu removed Jay's powers, and then in doing so, killing Jay. However, though, it's not to say that she is immortal like the 5 elders. It could be the case here that when Emu grants someone powers, they're also not being granted immortality. Let's say if Emu can distribute immortality to a select few people, but it can also grant devil fruit-like abilities to a broader range, a larger sample size, a bigger pool of people. So in this sense, the immortality abilities of the elders and their Zoan-like abilities are not one and the same. But if that is the case, then you can apply that to potentially every holy knight, including Stabs. And then that could explain why they were able to use the lightning teleportation circle to get to the castle in the first place. So there are many things here that Oda can kind of branch into when it comes to Gunko, the Holy Knights, the potential influence of the Holy Knights itself, what it means for Stabs, what it means to be a Holy Knight, and how it could tie back to things that we saw in the God Valley flashback. And of course, the power of the Holy Knights. Once again, if they are in some way embedded with the powers of Emu, this once again only validates Dragon's statements on said Holy Knights. It's once they mobilize, that's when the true battle begins. And each one could be comparable, potentially comparable, to Loki in combat ability. Things we need to keep our eye on moving forward, because Oda could genuinely make the Holy Knights repeat adversaries moving forward for the remainder of the story until they fully mobilize and all 9 Holy Knights square up against whoever Oda wants to place in front of them, the good guys. So, on that note, let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. If you enjoy your boys' video content, as per usual, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click on that bell to join the notification squad. I'ma catch you guys and gals on the flip side.
See you. Bye-bye.